Well, good evening, and welcome to today's session. Stress less and achieve more. If you're new here, I'm Nichola McLeod. I'm a coach, a mentor, and a team builder, and I just love supporting people to reach their full potential. I've got over 25 years' experience in business as a senior executive in the corporate world and also as a self-employed entrepreneur. Now, I want to start tonight's session with a little bit of honesty. I burned out in my corporate career, like completely. I was living in a state of constant stress for years. But the thing is, I wore it like a badge of honour. I thought it meant that I was ambitious, that I was productive, that I was successful. But it came at a real cost, physically, mentally, emotionally, even. And eventually I hit a wall. Everything had to change about the way I existed in order for me to survive and to rebuild. And since then, my nervous system has completely changed. I genuinely cannot handle the tiniest bit of stress without feeling it really, really deeply. So now I live completely differently. I control every controllable that I can. I've created for myself a life and a business where I protect my peace as if my success depends upon it, because it does. And that's what this session is all about. So, the truth about stress and success, okay? Let's start with a belief that I think many of us have. Stress means I'm doing something right. And that mindset, it's kind of baked into the hustle culture. We're taught somehow that being busy, being stretched, always being available, it's a sign of commitment and drive. But here's what the science actually says. Chronic stress leads to elevated cortisol levels, and over time, that messes with everything from your sleep to your focus to your immune system. Even more importantly, your brain cannot operate in survival and strategic mode. Stress pushes you into reaction, not creation, firefighting, not vision. So today, we're going to shift that belief. Stress is not a sign of success. It's often a warning sign to you of unsustainable patterns. So what I want to do is I want to just explain some of what I've just said, because I find if you have a deeper understanding of the effects of doing something, it makes it easier to make a change. So what is this cortisol stuff that I mentioned? It's often called the stress hormone. It's released by your adrenal gland in response to stress. Like it's part of that, you would have heard of a fight or flight response. It's part of that. Now, in really short bursts, cortisol is super helpful. It gives you energy, it sharpens all your senses, and it helps you to respond to an immediate situation, a crisis. But chronic stress, chronic means continual, okay, leads to chronic cortisol. When your body is always releasing cortisol due to long-term stress, and that could be work overload, financial pressure, or an emotional strain, it starts to damage you rather than help you. And I want you to think of it like this image that I've picked here, like an overflowing bucket. Once things start to overflow, they don't become useful to us. In fact, that water that's coming out of the bucket is going to start causing damage. So, what's the impact of that elevated cortisol then? This is what it can do to you over time. And I'd be really interested to see if you identify with any of these, okay? Sleep disruption. Cortisol interferes with melatonin, the sleep hormone. You may feel wired at night, struggle to fall asleep, or even stay asleep. Elevated cortisol also reduces focus and memory. High cortisol reduces activity in the hippocampus. That's where we store memories up here. And your prefrontal cortex. This is where your executive functions, your decision making takes place, okay? High cortisol reduces the activity there. It also leads to a weakened immune system. Your immune responses, they kind of slow down, making you more prone to things like colds, fatigue, slower healing in things. The other one, weight gain and cravings. Cortisol stimulates your appetite, especially for sugar and fat. It can also cause your body to store more abdominal fat. And the last one, mood instability. Long-term cortisol imbalance can contribute to anxiety, irritability, and even depression. In other words, stress just doesn't just make life harder. It physically alters your brain and body to make everything harder. And I know at my worst, I'd suffered from every single solitary one of these. Now, I've already mentioned this, but I really want to clarify what is meant by this, okay? Because it's such a powerful mindset insight that it's rooted in neuroscience. It's not like just made up mumbo jumbo, okay? Inside our brains, there's two primary operating systems. The survival brain. So think about flight, fight or flight. I always struggle to say those two together. Fight, flight, freeze. This is an amygdala-driven reactive part of your brain. You don't control that, right? It's hypervigilant. It's focused on immediate threats. The other part of your brain, the strategic brain, in your prefrontal cortex, it handles planning, problem solving, goal setting, creativity, and self-regulation. When your stress is high, your brain diverts resources away from the strategic centers and it activates that survival system. So I want you to think of the strategic brain like this is you at your best. This is you like delivering things in a really, really brilliant way. And I want to think of your survival brain as the firefighter. Like, this is like you putting out all the fires, and you're probably quite good at it, but you don't want to stay in that place all the time. This is what that survival mode looks like, right? Ever find yourself doing this? Overreacting to small things. Tiny issues feel massive. And it's because your brain is constantly scanning for threats. If you get tunnel vision and start to lose perspective, it's super hard for you to see the big picture when you're stuck in survival mode. You forget priorities and you're just putting out fires. Your to-do list, it almost becomes a reaction list. You find yourself saying yes when you mean no. Boundaries blur when you're depleted. You don't make strong decisions that are healthy for you. And lastly, you rush, scramble, and you feel out of control. It's all go, 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 go. No time to pause, to plan, or to reflect. In high stress situations, your brain is wired for short term survival. not for long-term vision, growth, or leadership. That's why you hear people saying things like, I just can't think straight. I just feel like I'm spinning too many wheels. I'm too overwhelmed to make a plan. It's not just in your head. It's how your head is functioning under stress. So I'm saying that the way that your brain's working is normal for the situation that you're in, okay? Now, one of the reasons I've gone into this much depth about the impacts is I want you to understand how stress impacts your ability to build a business, to lead a team, or even to follow through on your plans. Sometimes it's not because you're being lazy, disorganized, or unmotivated. You just need better systems and, more importantly, a better environment to support your brain operating at its best. If you look at these two plants, the only difference between them is the environment that they're sat in. One plant isn't useless, one plant isn't brilliant, one's just not in the right environment. So what I want to do now is I want to have a look at the kind of things that cause stress. And you might be surprised that they're not always massive things in life. So I'm going to look 3 everyday stressors I think often fly under the radar. So the first one's decision clutter. When I was looking into this, right, do you realise that the average adult makes over 35,000 decisions a day? Well, most of them are small. What to wear, what to eat, when to answer a message. But they drain your mental battery, and it's called decision fatigue. You can handle this by pre-deciding some things, have some formulas, prepare things in bulk, days that follow a rhythm. It can help reduce the number of decisions that you need to make in the moment. The second one is internal pressure. Now, this is the voice that's inside your head saying things like, I should be doing more. Everyone else seems to be managing fine. I can't slow down or I'll fall behind. Now, that voice isn't motivation. It's anxiety in disguise. You can quieten this voice by saying, what would I say to my best friend if they ask this? It'll help to reframe things in your mind, bringing some compassion and some perspective into the situation. And the third one, boundary leakage. Being always on means there's never really an end to your workday. Notifications become micro stressors. Saying yes to everything drains your energy. You need to build in some clear cut-off times. Use your phone's do not disturb. Create physical and digital signals that work is done for the day. Those boundaries are really important to you. So I said at the beginning that I've overcome a lot of my issues, the things that I've already spoken to you about that I was feeling, by controlling the controllables. And that's really what the crux of this session is about. Once I reached that burnout point, I knew I couldn't keep living the life that I lived. So I used different systems to protect my nervous system every day, to prevent this buildup, to allow me to operate at my optimal. And I want to share them with you. But before I do that, I've picked this image of the lighthouse with the storm going on around it, just to try and explain what I mean about controlling the controllables. So something that isn't controllable here is that storm. It's going to happen. It's raging. The waves are crashing, the thunder and lightning's going off. Nothing you can do about it. But what you can control is what's going on inside that lighthouse and the home that goes with it. You can absolutely control everything inside of there. And it's just being able to identify what you can control and what you can't control. And if you look after the things that you can control, you find that your stresses really do shrink. They really, really do. So let's have a look at the techniques that I found to be incredibly useful in controlling those controllables. So the first one's called a morning flow anchor. You can call it anything you like, to be fair, but this is a good name for it. So this is about not starting your day with chaos, starting your day with calm, and it sets the tone. Think about what would work for you. Create a routine and stick to it. I'm talking about things like no phone for the first 20 minutes when you get up, journaling or reading something really nourishing first thing in the morning, going outside for a walk or a stretch or something to ground yourself. What I wanted to do was to share with you what I actually do so that it's not just all theory and you can think about which one of these would work for you, or it might fire off something that you think, oh, I didn't think that I could do that. Okay. So these are the things that I do as part of my morning flow anchor, almost religiously. Set an alarm for when I want to get up, and I get up when that alarm goes off. I don't snooze it because I find personally snoozing it increases the chance of me snoozing too many times, being late, sleeping in, oversleeping. Dress has already arrived and I've not even got out of bed. And ever since I started getting off the second that alarm goes off, that's helped. The next thing that I do is I don't talk to anybody for the first 30 minutes that I'm awake. Nobody, no people, no animals, no nothing. Because I just need to focus myself on me. For the next 30 minutes, I exercise. Now, I'm not talking about something majorly vigorous, ridiculous. It might be taking the dogs for a gentle walk, okay? It might be going for a run. But I do something physical so that I'm really helping myself to be away from everything that might distract me. I then spend 30 minutes having breakfast with my husband and we chat about the day that's coming up. Like, have we got some work priorities? Have we got some personal priorities? And if we don't have any of those to chat about, we talk about absolute rubbish. But we make time to be present and to do that. I then allow myself 30 minutes for some important tasks. It's space that I build into every single solitary day that if there's something pressing or urgent, I can get it done. Do I need to make a vet's appointment? Do I need to call the doctors, the dentist? Has the car broken down? Does somebody urgently need something from me? It is slotted into that spot, so I'm not carrying it with me for the rest of the day. And one that I really, really never budge off of, my phone remains on silent until 10 a.m. to allow all of this to happen for me. Now, I get other people might not be in a situation to have this kind of morning flow anchor, but I'm hoping it might trigger off some things that you think, actually, I could do this. This sets me up for being the most productive person on the planet because I've allowed myself to control all of those things. The second one I want to talk to you about is no decision zone. Do you remember we talked about that? Like, just being absolutely brain dead from making these 35,000 decisions a day. It's about reducing the number of choices that you make each day so you can use your brain power on things that really matter. What type of things could this include? You could do a weekly meal plan. You could do time blocks for work sessions so you know exactly what you're doing when. You could pre-decide outfits, content, routines, things like that. It's about reducing the number of times that you need to make a decision. Again, think about controlling the controllables. Find things that you don't have to make decisions about. And again, I want to share with you some of the things that I actually do. I do a lot of batch cooking. And all that means is whenever I'm cooking a meal for me and Andy, I don't cook for two, I cook for 4 or 6 people. and I freeze those extra portions in individual portions. So when I have a day where I don't want to make a decision, I open the freezer and take out a home cooked meal. We really don't like microwave, like supermarket meals. I really don't want to be eating takeaways. This makes it really simple. If I'm having a day where I'm feeling overwhelmed, I've got a lovely home cooked meal to take out the freezer. And I normally have about 20 of them in the freezer at any given time. So if it's a week of overwhelm, I've got a week worth of meals and it's not a problem. I also always make sure that I plan my next day before I finish this day. I have a look at my to-do list. Did I accomplish everything that I wanted to? What's left? What do I need to prioritize for tomorrow? What would I like to get done tomorrow? I find that that makes it really easy for me the next day to start being productive without having to make those decisions. I also do anything like social media or writing these sessions at a time when I'm feeling super creative. And I find that really helps me, not forcing myself to make decisions about what to post, how to post it when I'm not feeling it. I also do decision-free days. I genuinely, like, hand on heart, go to Andy and I say to him, I am sick and tired of making decisions. I'm not going to make any decisions today. And we have a right laugh about it because, of course, he asked me things and I'm like, making a decision today. And you know what? It is so bloody refreshing. I probably only do it a couple of times a year, but by God, is it refreshing to have that amount of control of saying, I'm not making a decision. I'm not. I'm not. It's really, really freeing. So again, have a think about whether any of the things I've mentioned there might work for you. You might already do some. Brilliant. Carry on doing them. Add some more in to help take those decisions out of your life. Environmental engineering is the third one that I wanted to talk to you about. It's about shaping the environment that you're in, the bits that you can control to reduce stress. You could make sure that the environment that you work in is calm and uncluttered. You can limit notifications on things, make sure that they're muted or minimal. Work in short bursts with clear starts and stops rather than this never ending thing. It's not about rigidity, it's about support. It's about creating an environment where you can work without friction. So, again, I'd like to share with you the things that I do. I have a dedicated workspace, and I know that I'm very fortunate to have that. I'm sat in my cabin right now, but this is my haven. This is my space for work, and I try really hard to limit the amount of work I do out of this space. It gives me a clear physical boundary that makes it easier for me not to feel stressed or overwhelmed. In the workspace that I have, I've got loads of visual clues. If you've never seen them, there's a small number of them on the wall behind me, positioned in a way that makes it look calming and lovely and sweet. But I assure you, in front of me, behind the camera, there is a mass and a mess of wonderful things that make me feel really calm. I also love blocking work. I love putting it into, I'm going to focus on this task. And when it's done, I'm finished. Because I found not doing that means that it's never ending and overwhelming. I've also become really good at spotting when I'm not being productive and stopping. More about that in a moment. I also try to make sure that I've got everything that I need to have. So I'm not getting stressed searching for things. So that might be something physical, like having my leads folder on my desk ready to go. Or it might be something like the link tree that I created that's got all the links to everything on the planet I could ever need in one place to make my life easier, whether I'm on my computer or whether I'm on my phone. I've got everything that I need that's automatically updated and I never have to look anywhere for it. Again, you might be doing some of these things, might have sparked off a few ideas of things that you can do yourself. I did mention that I wanted to talk a bit more about productivity, okay? So let's talk about a trap that so many of us fall into. thinking that that stress does equal productivity. What I've discovered is that stress-driven productivity feels frantic. Calm-driven productivity feels focused. And that's why I've picked these two pictures, mate. If what you're doing feels like you're on a hamster wheel, everything's all over the place, that you're always late for everything, you're never caught up with things, and you just got to keep going. And if you keep going, it's going to get better. It's stress-driven productivity. If you feel like you've got a compass in your hand, a clear path ahead, and you know where you're going, that's going to be calm-driven productivity. I mean, I used to be proud of juggling 12 tasks, but now I aim to have just 3 priorities in a day that I want to achieve. I work deeper, not longer. I pick out needle movers, not busy work. What is going to make a difference and what's just to look busy? The other thing I do on really tough days, because you can't avoid them, on really tough days, we aim for a micro win. I sent 1 email, I did 1 post, I did 1 10-minute task. Something really, really important to understand is that momentum doesn't come from pressure. It comes from movement. You think that's what's missing so often, revisiting that goal. What momentum, movement is actually getting you closer to your goal? Is the thing that you're busying yourself with the thing that's getting you there? If it is, if being busy isn't getting you anywhere, then stop. Just stop. Walk away. Walk completely away and do something totally and utterly different until your mind has cleared. And then come back, reset, check that you're heading in the right direction and go again. It will make a massive difference. I want to leave you with a really powerful thought. What if the version of you with less stress could actually achieve more? I know it's true for me. When I stopped equating stress with importance, everything shifted. When I built systems that created peace, I actually found clarity. When I stopped forcing productivity, I found that things flowed a lot better. Now, this isn't about doing less for the sake of it. I made a commitment to myself this year that I was going to do less and achieve more. It's about doing less of what doesn't serve you so that you can do more of what actually matters, what actually makes a difference. I'm going to leave you with one really small but powerful practice that you can use daily. It's asking yourself 3 questions. What's one stressor that I can reduce today? What's one thing that I can pre-decide? And what does calm success look for me right now? I'll repeat them. What's one stressor I can reduce today? What's one thing I can pre-decide? And what does calm success look for me right now? That's it. No big declarations, just constant micro choices that bring you back to calm. And from that calm, you achieve more with ease. I want to really thank you for joining me today. I hope you found it to be valuable. You deserve a business and a life that doesn't cost you your peace. Dress less and achieve more. If you had a light bulb moment or you've got something that you'd like to share, drop it into the chat for me. I've always loved to read them. And if you've got a question, of course, I'll answer it. If you'd like my free Dress Less and Achieve More checklist and planner, drop me an email to nichola@beautyofsuccess.co.uk. I always have a reminder, I've got an H in the Nichola, Nichola, at beautyofsuccess.co.uk, and I will wing it straight over to you. Our session next week is titled Unlocking Your Creativity.